Hello and welcome to the Finance Chief podcast. I'm Aaron McMillan, Senior Editor of Procurement Magazine and Supply Chain Digital, and your guest host for this episode of the podcast. And I'm delighted to say that this one comes to you from Coupa Inspire here in London, and I am delighted to be joined by Zach from Rossum. Hi Zach, how's it going?
Good to meet you.
And you?
Well, I say meet. We've met before, but
good to meet today.
Good to see you again.
Yes,
that's for sure.
And same for you. So, yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Really looking forward to this conversation. Of course. Before we get started, if you could just introduce yourself and just tell us a bit about what you do.
Sure. So, Zach Hemmant-Low, I'm the Chief Sales Officer for Rossum. Recently, as of 2 weeks ago, we were acquired by Coupa, so we're now a Coupa company. Rossum is an IDP or intelligent document processing platform. So the logic is that it ingests many forms of transactional documents, your invoices, credit notes, POs, and a whole host of supply chain documentation. It extracts the data, it matches the data, it validates the data, and then it passes high quality, clean data into those downstream systems. So Coupa being one of them, and multiple other ERP systems as well. My role is I look after all of our revenue. So that's all of our customers. We've got about 350 customers today. We've got about 50 shared customers with Coupa, as well as a variety of our other teams behind the scenes. So that's things like partnerships, it's our revenue operations, marketing, etc.
So right now you're kind of at the cutting edge of kind of finance technology. So let's bring it all the way back to the start.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about you and how you ended up working in the world of finance. So just take me back to you finished school, and what are you thinking when you finished school? Is this I think I remember in the research that you started your own businesses.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Was that something you always wanted to do?
I think so, yeah. I've always wanted to start my own company. I had a couple of businesses, started a motorbike drop shipping business when I was quite young, and then started in the world of marketing technology, actually, as it happens. And as you do, you kind of get into certain age points in your life, and was really into the gym. And I was selling this marketing technology to all of these different customers, and it was B2B and SME technology at the time. And I realized actually at that point, I was telling all of these customers how to grow their business. And I thought, well, why don't I start my own business and prove to myself that I'm saying what I mean, and what I mean is true. And yeah, so that was an interesting couple of years, and ran that business. We grew pretty successfully. I think we had, back in the days of Twitter, I think we had 100,000 Twitter followers and all of those good things. And then, yeah, it was a decision between whether I want to keep in the corporate world or do that. And actually, I really enjoyed the corporate world. So
you're talking to companies, you're telling them how to grow.
Yeah.
And obviously you have the idea to do that as a job. Where did that drive come from? Because for a lot of people, maybe they wouldn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
Where was the drive for that?
So I guess it's probably my parents. My parents have both got sort of, if you like, their own businesses. I'm also, and to a fault, I will say, incredibly competitive. Like incredibly competitive. So I'm one of those guys that I have older half brothers, and they were very successful. And I always said, I want to be more successful by them at this age, and I want my friends to do, how do I do this, and how do I do this, and how do I do this, and I like to track things and ultimately kind of drive to success. And sales was a career for me that the harder you work, the more successful you were. In theory, it was pretty logical that you then also earn more money and those things. So that was kind of how I really got into the sales world, if you like.
Do you think you worked too hard, or is it just come naturally to you?
Depends who you ask. It depends who you ask. I think that I've, as you go through your career, and I guess if anyone's listening to this from a sales perspective, everyone has different roles and opportunities. And the biggest learning that I took throughout my career was sell something that you love, or sell something that you enjoy. So I jumped to one company and really didn't like the technology. The people were great, and people are just as important as the technology. But if you don't love what you do, I was just in a conversation with somebody about this recently. Like if you work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and you don't enjoy what you do, then everybody has the opportunity to go and find another job now and enjoy what they do. I genuinely think it's really important.
Yeah, I agree. We spend most of our lives working. We might as well do something that we enjoy.
Yeah.
To enjoy the ride, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure.
So you're obviously top salesman, kind of growing up, developing your career. Where did that drive come to become a leader? Because a lot of salesmen don't find themselves later in their career up on stage, talking in front of, hundreds of people like you did earlier on today?
Yeah. I've always wanted to be a leader. I mentioned I was competitive, right? I was always a sports person, and I was a captain of the teams. And I always, for me personally, I enjoyed being the leader, the person that stood at the front and took the team forward and drove the team. That was always really important to me. And truthfully, it was a really hard decision, right? Because in the world of sales, when you step into leadership, you lose the ownership and the credibility of being the person that closed the deal or the person that did this or all of those different pieces. And I had to find a new enjoyment in terms of what I was trying to achieve. And that was probably 8-9 years ago now when I stepped into sort of my first leadership role. And the first year or so was interesting, right? And you learn. And one of the advice I give to quite a few of the different people that I work with and spend time with, helping them to grow in their careers, is, look, you need to find that the reason why. And for me, that the next iteration of my enjoyment was watching people achieve things. So at my time at Emarsys, I had many people who went through small things like, I want the money to refurb my bathroom or my kitchen, or I want to get married, or I want to get engaged, or I'm going to have a baby and want to buy a house. It's those things as well. And finding that satisfaction in watching people grow and helping them to grow and succeeding in their careers, that for me now completely outweighs the did I close the deal or not, right? But it's a learning curve, right? And I would imagine that's probably, to your point, maybe where some people stay in leadership or move to leadership and some people don't.
This podcast is in partnership with Amazon Business. Amazon Business is your one-stop destination for everything your organization needs. Think of it as the Amazon you already know and love, but specifically re-engineered for the way you work. Amazon Business gives you access to business-only pricing on millions of items and quantity discounts that scale with your growth. It's about spending less time bogged down in those manual tasks and more time on what really matters. So head over to Amazon Business and make the power of Amazon work for you.
There's a nice reason to drive you to help your team have achieved that. So over the last 8 or 9 years, would you say that's kind of the most important trait you've developed as a leader, or is there a more important one that, if someone listening to this is maybe about to step up into their first leadership role, kind of trait that you would really recommend they?
The one trait I would always say is, don't ask people to do something that you're not willing to do yourself, right? And I think that's always been how I've built the cultures of the teams that I have around me. Is everybody that I work with knows that if I ask them to do something, or I say, let's go and let's do this, or we've got this new incentive where we're going to go out and target this group of customers, or we want to go and find this, they know that I would and I will join them in doing that, right? I think it's a really important asset to have a team that believe that you would do that with them. And for me, in the world of sales, right, it's, you have good days and you have bad days, and as long as you balance them and you're with people that you enjoy and everybody's there together, that's how you build a really successful culture, in my opinion.
I'd like to ask you a little bit more about culture, but before that, obviously when you started your own business, perhaps you didn't have that kind of senior leader come to a kind of traditional structure. So I suppose when you kind of formed your idea of what a good leader looks like, where did that inspiration come from?
From my leaders, obviously. So I was really fortunate to work with some amazing leaders, and two of them who will know exactly who they are if they listen to this are still incredible assets to me and following people around. I think as you go through your career in different sizes of companies, one of the things I was quite intentional of doing is looking for the traits that I liked, but also the traits that I didn't like. Because I think that can also help you to be the type of leader that you want to be, based upon seeing how people react in different dynamics. And I guess that's always how I've thought about it, is how do I take the best of the things that I've loved and I've personally enjoyed, and how do I make sure I don't do the things that I didn't enjoy, and I can be as good as a leader as I can be, right? Nobody is perfect, of course, but that's the way I think about things.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Those leaders that shape us and help us early in our career are the people that those traits we hope to inherit and pass on to the people that we end up leading. So I agree. It's kind of the same for myself. Kind of those leaders who I still think of now and still talk to now, and we'll often go to for help and assistance. And they're so important to lead on. I was wondering, interested about you building the culture. You kind of centered on that, the reason why, and that's really what's driving you now. So how do you go around building a really positive culture? Because something like that just doesn't happen overnight, does it?
Yeah. I don't know. I have a saying, first and foremost, and may not be podcast appropriate, right? But a mentor years and years and years ago taught me this, and he said it's better to have a hole in your team than an arsehole in your team, right? And it's something that I've always kept true, right? It's really important that you have a good set of people, number one, and it's also really important that you share the same you share the same goals, right? Everybody is on the journey. I think as we've gone through the last 3.5 years of Rossum, right? It's had its ups, it's had its downs, but everybody always knew where we were going. Everybody knew the goal. Everybody knew the big momentum, and you share that, right? One of my favorite things ever about as a sales leader is when I see somebody close a deal and the team celebrate that person, right? That for me is like that's success for me, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, you're only as good as your weakest link, and I suppose a little bit more on that because I'm interested. How?
That's a more polite way of saying
yes.
what I said. Okay, good.
That idea of you'd rather have the hole in your team than How can you justify that when perhaps maybe they're your best performer, maybe they're kind of picking up the slack, good for a business sense but not good for a personal sense?
Look, I think at the end of the day, numbers are only one part of any story in any business, and I think there's the tangible, which is the numbers, and then there's the intangible, which is the effects on the teams and the people around them. I think you can't put a price on that, right? And actually, yes, we are in a world and culture and environment and business and all of those different pieces, but I think it's you don't know what having somebody in the team that is perhaps a bad apple per se is doing to the mindset or the culture behind the scenes, right? How does that person continue to do this if they do this, right? It's again, one of the leaders I spoke about earlier. I remember he used to have on his whiteboard. I'd go in the Amasis office, and he would always say, if you see somebody setting a low standard and you accept it, you've just set a new standard, right? And again, it's really important. And I think that's sort of that expectations and those things are really important to me.
Yeah, I think you don't tend to think about the nuances and just the depth in which you're leading a team, and it's such a hyper-competitive field in which you operate in, just how the minute details can set a whole new expectation for your team and throw off kilter if things go wrong. So, and you kind of balance that with the extreme volatility that you work within. I mean, it must be a very interesting time. Should we call it interesting? An interesting time to work in the world.
It is. Yeah, it definitely is. I think I've always sort of worked on the basis that, number one, everyone's having a good time, right? It's interesting, and yes, there's ups and there's downs, but is the culture there, and do we all believe in what we're trying to do? Yes. I also believe that if you do good things consistently, good things happen, right? And that's always been the methodology. I talked, and I think I put a LinkedIn post out today, which is, if you show up consistently, right? If you do the right things consistently, then things will naturally happen for you, for the company, for the team, right? That's the reality of it. It's not just a sales structure. It's everybody across the board. It's if we turn up every single day and we do the right thing, we will always be moving ourselves forward instead of backwards, and that's what matters, right? And as you've said, that time of uncertainty, the certainty can be, well, can I do what I can do today? And that, for me, is how you drive that in that environment.
It must be kind of so difficult to kind of keep at it if you're not seeing the success, you're not seeing the kind of good things that come, because you're right, if you keep doing the good things again and again, eventually, by the law of averages, good things will start to come back your way. How do you stay tenacious? How do you stay resilient yourself? Keep pushing when maybe those results aren't coming.
For me, it's finding a reason to celebrate, right? It might not be It might not be the deal that was closed, but it might be the amazing meeting that happened. It could be in our world, it could be the POC, it could be the customer reference call, it could be the case study that came out. It could be any of those things, right? And it's finding those smaller reasons to succeed or to win, and even to the point of in a sales environment, right? It's okay, great. Let's celebrate having the meeting, right? It's small, and of course, for many people, they'll go, well, why do you celebrate having a meeting? But actually, it's building the culture of celebration and success, and actually each moment in time is doing the right things and taking you forward, and those things from there. So yeah, I think that's there.
I think it's a really nice way to operate. A lot of the time when I speak to procurement leaders, supply chain leaders, the kind of nature of their role, in which, they're always negotiating a new deal. They may close a deal with a new supplier and they think, are we getting the best deal?
Yeah.
Is someone else getting a better deal? How do you promote those small wins? Because a lot of times, people don't tend to do that.
Yeah.
They don't take the time to celebrate those smaller wins, and that's so important now.
Yeah, it is, and I think it has to be a conscious decision, right? You have to look at you have to be able to, as a leader, step back from the kind of the day-to-day, right? The wood through the trees scenario where you're so entrenched in what you're doing, and say, look, actually we are, and give yourself confidence and look at it. And sometimes you look back, and I know I've had multiple times on my Rossum journey and different journeys where I've looked back and I've gone, actually that's something I could be doing differently, and that's something I could be doing differently, and you change things, because again, all of those things are malleable to that extent. But yeah, the procurement world is a fun one, and I've got a fair bit on working with a lot of our customers. I'm segueing now, but I hope it works for you, right? But you talk around the deal, right? Is procurement people want to get a deal, salespeople want to get a deal, the company wants to get a deal, and all of those things. And one of the biggest things that I've always worked on, and I believe all of my customers would agree, is that we have a fair value exchange, right? It's never, did you get a good price? It's never, did you do this? It's a fair value exchange for the work that we're delivering and the outcome that's going to be there. And genuinely, I think that's how we've built the business that we have. And I have so many of my customers that will text me or call me and do those different things.
It's a great way to see. And with those customers, what's the soundboard you're getting from them? What's kind of concerning them, and how are you helping to address those concerns?
I guess it really depends, right? Our customers at the moment, I think it's how are we utilizing the technology as much as possible. So Rossum, when you look in from the outside, or if you look at it from the lens of our partnership with Coupa, has predominantly been within the accounts payable space. So we're processing invoices, credit notes, or POs. But one of there's a couple of market dynamics at the moment, and actually they sit within the office of the CFO and the office of the CTO, and they intertwine. So the office of the CFO wants to consolidate spend, reduce spend, and the office of the CTO wants to consolidate technologies and reduce technology. So they're all in this sort of world together. And third and foremost, AI, right? Everyone's within that spend as well. And actually what we're seeing a lot from our customers is that the investment in AI is important. So some of our customers, we are the first on their journey of going into an AI technology, and we love that and we help them. But actually our customers are going, well, look, we've got this and we've invested in this. How else can we apply this into different use cases? So my customers today are coming to me and saying, well, could we do this? Or could we do this? And could we do this? And actually it's the art of the possible with AI, which is the thing that we're now continuing to open up and look at different use cases, different capabilities, and that's being a real success for us as well. It's
really interesting that you said you're normally the first AI solution they kind of formally look into.
Sometimes.
So those people,
yeah.
What are the kind of impressions you're getting towards AI when those kind of first time inquiries comes? Is there hesitation, excitement, bit of both?
So when I started at Rossum 3 odd years ago, it was really different to what it is now. So 3 years ago, our website is rossum.ai. We've always been an AI company, and actually 3 years ago, there wasn't many .ai domains in existence, right? So when I first started, there was an education path that you had to take people on. It was, okay, but why should I use AI instead of rule-based or templates, as opposed to fast forward now, you've seen it today in the room, you've seen it consistently in pretty much every single conversation. It's not why should I use it, it's how do I use it and how do I trust the AI? So our conversations have changed a lot to being more of a trust mechanism around the AI capability, and that's really where we tend to kind of portray and understand. It's that empathy of understanding that actually if you're going to do this, you need to be able to trust what the AI is telling you. You need to be able to use that data to report back, because MIT have the 95% of all AI initiatives have failed, and that's number one because of investment within the business, but also number two of you can't showcase those results. There's nothing tangible, so you need to be able to report back to your teams. And then number three, you need to have something which is in a world that you believe is changeable, right? You can put AI into so many different use cases, but the applicability of the AI in let's take the use case of accounts payable, where a lot of our customers start, it's incredibly applicable, right? It enables accounts payable team to be more efficient, more effective, more accurate, more timely. Like they're things that every single person wants to be able to do, and we're getting them on that journey, and we're taking them there.
I mean, when you put it like that, I'm surprised that not everyone's doing it. Everyone's kind of trying to list AI.
I wish they were.
What would you say to perhaps someone listening to this, in their organisation? Perhaps they want to be the one who drives AI adoption in their business, but they have hesitation from above.
Yep.
What's kind of a nice first brick to lay on a foundation?
Yeah, I think number one, there's almost, as you said, right, somebody that wants to do some AI within the business, right? That's kind of where things start. I think what you really need to be clear on is specifically what are you trying to achieve, right? And for every business, it's really different, right? When we look at the companies that we work with, there is always I would say 9 times out of 10, there is an initiative that AI, the AI investment is being linked to. So find the initiative first and foremost. And I think most businesses these days will have an end initiative that they want to use AI to try and achieve. So link it back to an initiative, but also understand not just the individual component. What I think is incredibly important is to understand what comes before the AI and what comes after the AI. Because one of the biggest things that I've seen many times is if you look just individually at the point, yes, it's great, but you've not thought about, okay, how's it going to get in there? What's it going to do afterwards? And that's where more people get involved. It's more stakeholders. It slows things down. And that's the probably case that I'd start is don't just look at that point, look at the end-to-end journey.
Yeah, perhaps they're looking at a problem and they think AI will source it, or AI will sort the problem,
yep.
But they're not looking about what happens the day after,
yep.
and the day after, the week
yep.
after, the month after. And obviously talking about futures, you guys just announced that you've been acquired by Coupa.
Yep.
That was a few weeks ago in Vegas now.
It was.
How have things been since then?
Honestly, number one, exhausting. We've been doing a lot of different things, meeting lots of different teams, but it's been incredibly exciting, right? I think, as I said on the stage this morning, we've had customers with Coupa for nearly 6 years. We've been partners with them for over 2.5 years. We now have 50 customers. So the relationship is there, the customer success is there, and now almost the flame has been ignited to really go and deliver the value of Rossum to the wider set of Coupa customers, right? And I think that's what we've seen. So multiple different stakeholders, different people, different teams. We've been welcomed with open arms into every conversation and meeting, maybe too many conversations and meetings at this point, but it's really exciting, right? And I think we can see exactly the synergies between the two businesses, and therefore those synergies which will apply to the customer base, and that's what I'm really excited about.
Obviously, like you mentioned, you had that partnership with Coupa, you had that existing relationship. So when they kind of make the offer, they make it well known to you that they want to acquire you. What's the feeling? Obviously, you've helped build Rossum into such a well-established name.
Yeah.
Was there any hesitation?
Look, I'd be lying, right? You've heard everything that I've spoken about today in terms of sales leadership, and I'd be lying if there wasn't a little bit of hesitation, right? I love Rossum, and I was just with Lee, and she was talking around her journey and when she left Dayforce, how much she loved it, and I genuinely love Rossum, and I still do, and the people and the founders. But the idea that actually the teams that we've got 200 people, we've got 100 people in Prague that are developers, and they've developed this technology for the last 9 years, and we've got some amazing customers. Actually, for us to now be able to go and give that technology to the world's largest FTSE 500 customers, that is amazing, right? The conversations that we're now having, the doors that are being opened, it gives us the capability to go, wow, do you know that product that we thought was good and we knew was good, but we were a small business and we were trying to get in the front door of a top 10 business in the United States, but they were not answering our calls because our plus 353 in Prague or whatever else it was. It's that conversation now where we get the opportunity to go, wow, do you know what we've built? And look at all of the amazing brands that are using it. And that's, you can probably hear, that's why I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, it sounds like, like you mentioned, it's kind of lit a fire. Is it the same for your team? You're kind of excited now? It must seem like a brand new chapter, something that you can kind of just dive into and become, even stronger.
I'm really glad you said the word chapter, because that's really important, right? And that's how we're thinking about it internally at Rossum. It's the next evolution of the capability, right? We spoke this morning and we talk around our data set that we have at Rossum, and Coupa talk around their $10 trillion of data set. That combination of the two sets of data drives even more power, even more capability across all of the Coupa customer base and the Rossum customer base, and actually that's what's really exciting. So yeah, it's the chapter and it's the excitement from the teams, and look, we're ready to go. And
maybe you won't be able to reveal too much, but for your capabilities, obviously having Coupa behind you, you're already at the cutting edge of finance technologies. You must be looking at now to become the leader in the space. So I imagine you're cooking up some quite exciting things that people can look forward to.
I would say so. I'd say watch this space. That's for sure. I'm sure we'll do another one of these podcasts, and we can talk about it again.
Perfect. We're almost out of time, but I'd like to finish the episode by asking if I could let you go back in time and speak to your younger self.
Yeah.
What's the kind of one piece of career advice that you'd give them for anyone listening?
Oh, tough one.
You have a couple. I'm sure you've got more than one. Yeah,
no, I think one thing, and look, my career advice is different to everybody else's career advice, right? That's the reality. Everyone's different. I like winning. I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well, but one of the things that I also realized is that in some instances, good is better than perfect, right? You need to be scrappy. You need to get out there. You need to go and test and learn and optimize. And the final piece that I would say is don't sweat the small stuff, right? For people that are listening here that are perhaps on that journey, they're sales leaders or sales managers, they want to get into these things, don't get overwhelmed with the small stuff, because actually it's the big stuff that really matters, and it's moving the ship in the right direction and building that culture, which is genuinely really important.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Zach, so much for your time. It's been fascinating hearing your insight, and really excited to see how you and Rossum grow from now.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.